I'm Jerry Peters with Larry Phelps, and we're the owners of Cripple Creek Kennels. We're located on the Tennessee-Alabama state line in Loretto, Tennessee. You know, Larry and I have been bird hunting together for a number of years, and we enjoy the sport so much, we put together a film that we would like to share with you in the training of our dogs that might help you in the training of your dog.
Jerry, what I'd like to show is some of the methods we use in training our dogs. I'd like to show the steps we use on a pup, from weaning age to time we put them in the field. And one of the most important things about training a dog is patience. You gotta have patience. While you're out there training, you gotta be thinking all the time. You gotta think what that dog might do next. And you gotta think what you're gonna do correctly right then or 5 minutes later. And one thing about training a dog, they won't talk back to you.
Yeah, you're right, Larry. And picking a pup is one of the first steps in having a good hunting dog. You know, a pup can have all the looks in the world and still not have the right stuff. But one way to get the right stuff is by picking a pup with a good bloodline or pedigree. You know, every pup has a pedigree, whether it's on paper or not. It sure does make it easy to look back and see where the pup was started. Sometimes the second and third generations are the most important part of the pup's pedigree. You know, you've heard the old saying, it costs just as much to feed a sorry dog as it does a good dog. So remember, pick a pup with a good bloodline or pedigree. Well, I guess, Larry, the best way to show them some of these methods that we use in training our dogs is just take them to our kennel and show them what we've learned. And if they've never been bird hunting before, a little later on in the program, we'll take them to some places we've hunted and hopefully kill a few birds. We hope you enjoy our show.
After we wean the pups, it ain't too much training that you can do on them because it's young. But it's a few things that you can do that pups can be training themselves while they're getting old enough to get into some serious training. One thing here, I just got a regular garbage can lid. And I got an eye bolt, go right through the center of it. And I got it on a cable here, and it'll hold it up off the floor about 3 or 4 inches. And them pups, you put them in here after you wean them, and they'll start playing on this. And they'll start hitting this, scraping it on the floor, and they get used to all kind of racket. You can sort of tell what kind of racket it'll make. But they'll get used to all kind of racket. Then most likely, after you take them out of here, you could shoot over them. But it ain't no use trying to shoot over them. They ain't old enough to hunt, so we just go a little further till they get old enough to hunt, and then we'll get them used to the gun. After we get them out of here, we put them in the pen out back. After the pups get about 4 months old, I put them in a pen out back out here, the big pen, where these pups can run and build their bodies up. And during the time they spend out here, well, I'm running them in the field all at the same time. And while they out here, well, I tie a short piece of rope on each dog. And while they out here playing, well, they pulling on these ropes. And they get used to being on the leash. One will be pulling on one, the other will be pulling on the other. They just pulling on each other all the time. And when they get about 5.5 months old, I put them over here in a run by themselves. And during this time, they in this run by themselves, you put them in here, it sort of puts a little age on the dogs and matures. They mature a lot faster. Then they spend time, after you get them in here, they spend time on the chain gang out here. And this chain gang is about 50 foot long, and you need to put a piece of chain just long enough where the dogs can't get tangled with each other. And during all this time, you run them in the field. And you put these dogs on it, and you just leave, because they're going to throw some fits, but have your collars tight enough where they won't slip off over their head. Because they're going to throw fits, you leave. When you leave, they won't associate none of this with you. If you stay here, they think you're doing part of it. And if you got a shy pup, just put him in the middle. These others going to be jerking. They're going to be jerking him every which way. And he's going to get tired of doing all this, getting all this jerking, and he's going to start doing some jerking himself. You come back in about an hour, and they'll be hot. They'll take a drink of water. If they don't, leave, come back later. Then after they get used to this chain here, you put them on it every day. When they get used to it, you can put them on it and put them on this chain while you're out here working dogs. You'll be surprised what they'll learn just watching you work these dogs. They'll be seeing this bird fly, and they're going to get crazy over these birds. So after they get used to this right here, then you start running them out here in the field. You start running them, getting used to a rope. I always work pup on a 50-foot rope. And the reason I work him on this rope, I'm going to get him used to running on the rope. and get him used to changing direction on command of a whistle. When he hits the end of the rope, you toot your whistle and step off in a different direction. But doing this later on when you're in the field, when you toot your whistle, you can point the way you want this dog to go. And he's done it so much that he's used to it, and he'll do it on command. Now I'm gonna run him out here in the field and change directions with him. That's all I'm gonna do is just get him used to running on the rope. Is all we're looking for. Getting them used to this rope. All right, we've got Pup used to running in the field on the rope. We got him used to the rope. Now then, we're going to get him crazy over birds. And I use pigeons because they're so much tougher than quail, and they'll serve the same purpose. And I weight this pigeon down. I got a garden hose, about a 2-foot piece of garden hose. And it's according on the pigeon how much weight you want to put on it. Sometimes you get a hold of some strong pigeons, and they fly off with more weight. But you sort of put the weight on it according to the pigeon. And you'll take this pigeon, and you'll plant him out here. You always want to plant it where Pup can't see him. And one thing while you're planting these pigeons, you always want to use gloves. Wear you some gloves so that you won't have no human seeing on him. You plant this pigeon, plant him where the Pup can't see him. When you get the bird planted, you get Pup and you carry him, always carry him into the wind so he'll get a good seeing off of that bird. And when he points, let him hold it a few minutes, then walk around him. You may have to hold him one hand and throw the pigeon up with the other, but you just want to get him crazy over it. You're not trying to get him steady. What we're going to do, we're going to plant it and throw the pigeon up, and the dog's going to throw a fit because he's going to be seeing the bird fly off. The reason we're doing this, we're going to get him where we can shoot a gun over him. You do this so you know that he's crazy enough over these birds that he'd eat one if he was to get a hold of it. And when you think you got him like that, well, you plant you one in a basket. You work him into it the same way, but this time he's going to start pointing a lot steadier than he was. You'll walk around in front of him, you'll kick the bird up, and while Pup is running this bird, that's when you want to shoot it down, because he's going to be so tore up over that pigeon, he won't never hear the gun. And you need to shoot some down, one a day. You don't need to shoot a bunch down at once, but just one a day for 3 or 4 days. By then, you got Pup where he won't be scared of a gun. All right, I'm going to plant these pigeons, and you always want to dizzy these pigeons and hide them because you don't want Pup to use his eyes. You want him to use his nose. And you put his head in under the wing, and you just take this pigeon, and you do him like this, and that gets him dizzy, and he won't come. It takes him a while to ever come to his senses, so you'll put him in under something and cover him good so the dog can't see him. And I'm going to go out here and plant these. right, you notice Pup out there that he was used to a gun and he didn't pay any attention to it. And he made a pretty good retrieve for his first bird to be shot down over. But we ain't worried about his retrieving, because we got a remedy for that later on in the show. All right, we got Pup crazy over birds. We got him where we can shoot over him. Now then, we're gonna put brakes on him. And the way we put brakes on him, we use this pinch collar here, and we've got a 20-foot cable on this stake here, and I got another 20-foot rope here. And you put this pinch collar, you put it behind the regular collar. All right, you put the pinch collar behind the regular collar, and make sure your collar here is tight enough that it won't slip off over his head. And we fasten this cable here to the pinch collar. And this dog's gonna hold everything against that stake right there. He ain't gonna hold you responsible for nothing, because you're gonna be 20 foot out here away from it. And if this dog gets tangled up in here, you let him untangle himself. Don't put your hands on him till you get through with the session. And you need to work him on this about 2 weeks, about 4 times each day. And it don't take but 6 pinches. Just let him go out here and hit the end of it. You say, whoa, and hold your hand up. You let him stay there a minute, walk him back the other way. You do this 6 times. Each time you say, whoa, and hold your hand up. And you got to give these commands pretty sharp, because just like talking to a kid, if you talk sharp to them, they'll mind you. All right, we're going to start him off. You need to start him off real easy. Walk him out to the end. Now, he's going to throw some fits. Sometimes they pretty steady with him. Whoa! And you always want to make the dog stand up. Don't never let him lay down. Whoa! Whoa! You don't need to be looking for no style here, because all you want the dog to do is learn to stop. Whoa! 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 Just coach him easy. Always make him stand up, walk in the direction where his head is facing. That way you can stand him up and he won't be pinching him more. Whoa! 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 Just hold your rope tight. When he moves, it's going to pinch him. He'll start planting them feet and staying there. You let him stay here a few minutes, and you walk him. Come on, Pup. Whoa! 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 You always want to just hold your rope just tight, so if he moves, it'll pinch him. Always walk in a different direction every time. Whoa! 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 If you can't do it 4 times a day, if you only do it like 2 times a day, but it may take a little longer than 2 weeks. But if you're working 4 times a day on this, you need 2 weeks. I'll show another dog here in a minute. It's just come off of the stake, and you can see the difference in them after they've been on it a while. They finally get where you have to just pull them across, coach them on a crawl. Whoa! 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 Always you can pump him up. If you just take this rope and sort of pull on him, just anything to keep him from laying down. Just hold a tight rope. Whoa! They may not show you nothing for a while, but the more you work them, the more they'll show you. You gotta have patience. Whoa! But you being away from the dog, he don't hold you responsible for anything. You'll have your hands on him when you get through of each session, and you'll be petting him then. Whoa! Whoa! Come on, pup. Whoa! Right, your timing has got to be just right. When he hits the end of it, that's when you want to say, whoa. You got to sort of watch the dog and watch the cable. Make sure your timing is just right. When he hits the end, you say, whoa. 6 pinches is all it takes. Come here, pup. Come here, pup. Come here, pup. All right. See, the only time that you got your hands on him is when you're getting it off of him. Now, he won't hold you responsible for anything. All right, I got this dog here, and I'm going to show you how they act when you just taking them off of this. It's a lot of difference after you work them on this a while. I'm going to put the pinch collar on this in the same way I did other and go behind the regular collar. After they've been on here a while, you have to start coaching them out, because they know what it's all about. Whoa! Whoa! You always want to make them stand up. Pump them. You just pump them with a rope and they'll stand up. I always need to pull them in the direction where the head is going so you don't be pinching them more but making them stand up. You see the difference on these, there you just sort of have to keep coaching them out. Whoa! 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 And after they've been on this about 2 weeks, you can get where you can walk out in front of them. Whoa! And this is where you start holding your hand up and they start noticing it because you're away from them. Whoa! Whoa! And after you do this about 2 weeks, you carry them out in the field out here and bump them. But you don't carry them in the same field where you got them crazy over birds. You got to carry them in a different field, because you don't want them to associate none of this with the birds. When you start bumping, you got to make sure you can do your job. You got to be able to flip a rope from all directions. Now I'm going to take this dog off here. Now I rigged up a thing down here where I practice before I go out. If you can't flip the rope, you need to practice. You need to make sure that you can do your job. I'm at Sam. All right, after we take Pup off the stake, after about 2 weeks, we take him off the stake and we carry him out here in the field and bump him. We don't want to carry him in the same field. We got him crazy over birds. And what we bump him with is the same 20-foot rope, but this time we've got a bowling knot in it. And we need to tie this bowling knot where the knot will strike him right in on the jaw. And before you carry Pup out there to bump him, you need to make sure that you can do your job. You want Pup to do his, so you need to make sure that you can do yours. And if you're not sure that you can flip the rope, well, you need to practice. And I rigged up a thing right here that I practice on before I carry them out to make sure. And I got this board right here. and that serves as a dog's jaw. And I take this rope, and you need to learn to flip that rope in all directions. When you hear that knot hit that board, you know that you're doing it right. Every time you need to flip in all directions with both hands. You can tell the board when it moves that you're flipping the rope right. You don't need to flip all that hard. You just need to flip hard enough. If you do it too hard, you're going to hurt the dog's jaw. And when you carry him out here, you need to work him around away from you. When he comes around, flip the rope and say, whoa. Hold your hand up. Let him stay there a while, get where you can walk all the way around him. And when you do that, you're ready to get him steady on your birds then. Whoa! Always pull him up, make him stand up. Just pump him up. That's all you got to do. Whoa! You got to be able to flip your rope in all position. Get where you can walk all the way around him. Whoa! You can see how steady he's getting. Just a few bumps. Whoa! Pull on him. Whoa! Get where you can walk all the way around him. After he stands a while, just walk your rope in, pet him, and let him go again. Six bumps is all it takes each session. Whoa! Just squats down, go in and sort of pump him up a little. Now you get your hands on him. Whoa! 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 You do this 2 weeks, you got him where you say, whoa, throw your hand up. You can stop him anywhere. Sam, come on. Hi, Sam. Whoa. 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 You can notice that his back feet, he's going to get where you can pull him, and he'll bring his back feet plumb off the ground. Whoa! Try to make him mess up. Whoa! Whoa! For being out 20 foot here, you ain't gonna kill that dog down there. You're gonna keep him bowled up all the time. Whoa! After you do this about 2 weeks, you say, whoa, you'll be able to pull his head off, he won't move. Whoa! Whoa! After you work this dog, after you work him out here about 2 weeks, he's going to be steady enough that when you say whoa, that you can stop him when you get out in the field. And after you start hunting him with other dogs, and he comes behind a dog that's pointed, you can roar him a few times, and then he's backing on his own. Whoa! You always got to say your commands real sharp.
All right, we worked Pup out here. We got him crazy over birds. And we worked him up here on the wolf stake. Then we carried him out in the field and we bumped him. We got Pup where we can stop him. Now it's time to get him where he's be steady on birds. You work him the same way you did when you was getting crazy over birds. You work him into the wind. But now, the minute that you see that Pup smells the birds, that's when you want to stop him. You whoa him. By whoaing him way back, you get him pointing his game way back. And you work him into these birds, and you let him point them, and you pick him up, and you tote him off. You just want to make sure that he's good and steady. After you're sure that he's good and steady, now you want to shoot some down over. You want to plant one out there, kick it up, and shoot the bird down and see if it's going to retrieve.
Now we're going to force break the dog to retrieve. And what we use is a 20-foot table here, and we've got a cable above it here. And we've got a snap fixed onto the cable, and we fasten it to the dog. You need to make sure that the dog's collar is tight enough that it won't slip off over the dog's head. In case this dog jumps off, you let him hang there a while. And he won't jump no more at you. You let him hang there a while and you get him back up. And we talked about patience earlier in the film, and right here's where it tests your patience, right here. If this dog makes you mad out here, the dog's done whipped you. Best thing to do is put the dog up, come back in a little while and work him again. Have your little time to cool off. And you start this dog out by just getting him used to the table. You walk him up and down the table. After the dog gets used to the table, you want to get him used to holding some dials in his mouth. We got some straight dials here that we use. We'll get the dog used to holding these straight dials in his mouth. And each time you want to have 3 in your pocket, because this dog's going to spit some of these dials out when you first start, and you don't need to be looking around waiting on trying to find you another. You need to have one in your pocket where you can pop it right back in his mouth. Pick. And each time you need to check this dog's lips, because if he's biting his lips on this dial, he's thinking this dial's doing it. Gill. Each time you need to push it back in his mouth. When you say gill, push it back in his mouth, and that'll get him used to spitting the dial out. Later on, when you're out here in the field and he brings a bird to you, he'll just spit it out. You won't have to reach and pull on it. Pitch. Always check his lip. Gill. Pitch. And after the dog gets where that he'll hold these dials in his mouth without you having to put your fingers in this collar here and holding his head up. Now that's why when you start off, that's how you get him to hold it. Because if you don't, he's going to spit it out. If you hold that head up, he won't spit it out. After he gets where he'll hold the dial by himself, Gill, you got to get him to start reaching for it then. And what we use to get him to reach for it is about a 2-foot string here. We put the string on his right leg. I'm going to be working on his right leg all the time. You put a clove hitch right above his knee, and you go down around the 2 middle toes. Just make your loop right there. And you start holding these dials down toward the floor, because that's where he's going to be picking the birds up. Each time you tell him pitch. Pitch! And if that dog barks before you get that dial in his mouth, you're too slow. Gill. Pitch. Gill. Pitch. Gill. I'm going to go through these steps. But some of them now it's going to take 2 to 3 days. It's depending on the dog how fast he'll pick these steps up. He may pick this step up a lot faster than he does the next one. But you got to work the dog till he's doing it good. And after the dog gets where he'll take these dials in his mouth by just saying fetch, fetch, then it's time to go on to the next step. And when the next step we use is these dials right here. And they got pegs in the end. That's so that it'll hold the dial up off the floor, so the dog can get his mouth on it. If you use these straight dials, they're going to lay flat and he can't get them in his mouth. You start him off. If the dog don't know what wool is, I got a little chain here, and I hook him right there so the dog can't follow you. Still enforcing wool all the time. And you lay the dial out here, each time tell the dog wool, and he'll get where he'll stay back. You put it out about 2 or 3 foot, start him off, then you start getting a little further each time. Pick. Here. Gill. You need to give these commands sharp, just like talking to a kid. You know, you talk to a kid sharp, they'll mind a whole lot better. Each time, get a little farther out. Pitch. Here. Gill. After the dog gets where he goes out and gets these good without pulling the string, then you got to go on the ground with them. Pitch. Here. Gill. You want to keep control of that dog all the time while you're on the ground. Because you know when you carry a dog to the vet, first thing they do, they put him on the table. You're taking the dog out of control. But when you put him on the ground, he's in control then. So what I got here, I got a rope that I fasten onto the dog, and I fasten it onto my snap up here. And that rope will go right down the table and back. I'm going in the same direction now that it was on the table, but this time I'm on the ground. A dog, they act a lot of different when you put them on the ground than they did when they was on the table. And if the dog still don't know what wool is, I got a weight right here there. You just fasten this in his collar. When you go out and lay the dial down, the dog can't follow. You tell him wool, and he'll stay there. And when he gets where he'll pull this weight and make his retrieves, you know you got a retriever there. But I hope you know I'm just kidding about that. Pitch! Pitch! Always, here. Always hold it till you get something in his mouth. Gill. And now, each time, whoop, you get just a little farther out. Pitch. Pitch. Here. Gill. Whoop. Pitch. Here. Gill. When that dog gets to doing this as good on the ground as he was on the table, you can go back on the table now. And this time, we're going to use froze birds. And the reason we're going to use froze birds is so we'll have a soft-mouthed retriever. You can use these birds over and over because you ain't going to work this dog long each session. You ain't going to work him no more than 10 or 15 minutes. You want him to be as crazy about it when you put him up as he was when you brought him out. And I used 2 of these because it saves some walking of going out there and putting them down. Pitch! Here! Gill! Pitch! Here! Gill! Whoa! Each time get a little farther out. But this time the dog is, this string, he's done getting used to it. He knows what it does to him, so you don't have to go around his toes unless he just wants to quit on you. Then you can go back around his toes, and that'll get him back in it. Pitch! Here! Gill! Pitch! Here! Gill! After he gets to doing this as good as he was the other steps, you go on the ground with him. The same way with the dogs. Still using your rope down here. Whoa. Because you don't want to give that dog a chance to say no. You're going to have control of him all the time. Whoa. Lay these out, same way you did your dog. Pitch. Here. Gill. Always give him a little jerk on the string. Pitch. Here. Gill. When he gets to doing this step here, as good as he was the others, you go back on the table with him again. This time you're going to use unfroze birds. Get up there. The reason we use unfroze birds so if the dog, he's going to be retrieving birds out in the field, he's going to have to get used to retrieving them here. And we use pigeons. And I put a pigeon to sleep, and I put him in this plastic bag, and he goes in a deep sleep. And the reason I do that, I don't want no blood on this pigeon. I don't want to give that dog no reason to chew this bird. Whoa. Pitch. Here. Gill. Let the dog hold the bird till you tell him to gill. Whoa. Well, this time the dog's going pretty good without the string. He's going pretty good on command. Hey! Here! Gil, when he gets to doing this and as good as he did to others, you got to go on the ground with him again. And this time we're going to change directions. We've been going this way. We're going to start going out this way with him. We're going to change direction. And we're going to use the cable out here that we put brakes on the dog. Cool. We're going to take this 20-foot rope here. We're going to fasten it onto our cable out here. It's 20 foot. And he's going to be making 40 to 50-foot retrieve. Whoa. We still don't want to give that dog a chance to say no. Because later on out in the field, he'll have plenty of them chances. We're going to do all we can right here to correct him. Whoa. Still, if your dog won't roll, he won't stay back, you can use this weight right here. Just hook that in his collar. And we're making that dog stay back there while you go out here and you want to walk out here and lay the pigeon down to start off. Just carry it out here and make short retrieves. You still got your string on him. You don't want to give him a chance to say no at any time. Whoa. Pitch. Here. Here. Gil. Each time, whoa, you can get a little farther away with this pigeon. The more this dog does it, the more he likes it. You started him off, he done it because he had to, but now then he does it because he likes it. And don't let the dog go till you give him command. Pitch! Here! Heel. And after this dog has done this, as long as he has these others and done it as good, well, you can start adding. All I got here, I gotta get some rags tied up. It don't matter what it is, just as long as the dog can pick something up and bring it back. Because he done got used to the pigeon, you bring it back. And after you get him on this pigeon here working, bringing it back good, go out in the field and shoot some down over it. Shoot one a day for like a week. Then after you work him out there in the field, you can come back and about once or twice a week, you need to get this dog out and work him a few times on this. Then he's going to start looking forward, come out here making these retrieves. Pitch! Here! 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 Good. The reason I lay out more than one out here, sometimes, you know, on a covey rise, you get like Jerry. Sometimes he knocks down more than one bird. And this way you get your dog used to bring back more than one bird. Pitch! Here! Gil, pitch! Here! If you want the dog to start putting them up on you, now's the time. Just pat your chest and the dog will run up and put the bird up on your chest. And after you work this dog out here a while, get on the table. After you work this dog out here a while, you may not need this rope, cable, and all. You may have a good enough control over him that you don't need that. If you need to work him out here maybe once or twice a week, just a few throws. Pitch! Here! Because this dog's going to get to enjoy coming out here and just making a few retrieves. Gil. Pitch! Here! Always let the dog hold the bird till you tell him to gill. Gill! And after you work this dog out here, got a force-broke dog that if he quits on you, you can make him retrieve. But if you got a natural retriever, if he quits, it ain't nothing you can do. But if your natural retriever quits, you can get him to retrieve again, but you'll have to force break him. All right, we've worked a dog on unfrozen birds. Now we're going to carry him out in the field and see how he's going to retrieve. We're going to see, check his mouth, see if he's going to be a soft-mouthed dog. Carried him out here, we got him steady, so now we don't need the rope. We got control of him, so we're going to check him out. Jerry, we've took the pup from weaning age all the way up till we put him in the bird field. And one thing about all this training, you've got to have patience. Without patience, you're just wasting time. Well, let's load some of these dogs and go hunting.
Well, Larry, before we go hunting, we need to let them know, besides training dogs for ourselves and other people, that we have pup, started dogs, and broke dogs for sale year-round. So anytime we can be of any help, just give us a call. Let's get out of here.
Dog, get up here. Get up here. Dog, get up here. Whoa, dear. Got it. Come here, dear. Dear. Oh. Oh. Right here. Oh. Oh. Here. Right here. Right here. Oh. Here. 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 Right here. Here. Right up here. Oh. Oh. Here it is. Here. All right.
What's ahead for the weekend athlete? Usually sore, aching muscles.
Jim Reed is a freelance outdoor writer. He is the former outdoor editor of the Wichita Eagle Beacon newspaper. A sportsman and avid upland hunter, Jim has a special fondness for good bird dogs.
Greg Cook has been a professional dog trainer for more than a decade. Greg manages a hunting club on an 11,000-acre ranch, which also serves as his training ground. Greg's electric collar training techniques have been carefully developed, thoroughly tested, and proven successful. Greg, I know you've been a trainer for a number of years. What do you think of the electric shock collar?
Well, Jim, I really like it. It's probably the finest training aid we have available to us today. And there's several reasons for that, and a couple of them are the timing and the distance. In other words, I can discipline a dog with excellent timing, whether he's 5 feet or 500 feet. And so that's probably the main two reasons that I like it. Jim, it looks like we got a dog getting birdie right down here. Boy, beautiful. Where's Annie at? Good girl, whoa. Oh. Jim, would you put this in the pouch for me, please?
You bet. Good nice shot, Greg.
Thank you. I think we ought to go north over here and hit that creek bottom and see what we can come up with.
On up here?
You bet.
Besides timing and distance, Greg, what else makes an electric collar so effective?
Well, Jim, the electrical stimulus itself is a great force, and it's a great deterrent to misbehaving. The other thing is that it allows you to train at a distance, so you actually don't have to get your hands on the dog to discipline him, so they don't become afraid of you nor intimidated by you as a trainer. You know what I mean? I really like it. It's extremely effective. And
You know, if you hang around hunters much, Greg, you hear guys say that an electric collar can ruin a dog, or a collar can affect a dog's style and enthusiasm. I've been hunting with you now for about 3 years and watching your dogs, and I haven't seen any of that. What's the deal?
well, it's not the electric shock collar that creates problems. It's the improper use of the collar. It's like any training aid. If it's not used properly, it can and will cause a problem with the dog. And that's what this videotape is for. It's to teach people the proper way to use electric shock collar. So I'll tell you what, why don't we go back to the kennels and we'll load up some dogs and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Sounds good to me. Okay, what points and phases of training do you want to cover today?
Well, to start with, Jim, we're going to cover some basic information on using the electric shock collar. Then we're going to get right into wool breaking and handling and getting our dog steady on birds. And then we're going to teach how to properly train our dog to back or to honor another dog's point.
Let's get started.
Sounds good. The first point we're going to cover is to prevent a dog from becoming collar-wise. And by collar-wise, what I mean, a dog that is aware that he's wearing the collar and performs and does what is asked of him while he's wearing it only. Okay, and this is easily prevented. And there's two techniques that is very common in preventing a dog from becoming collar-wise. The first one is that when you buy a collar, they always send you a dummy collar or non-active collar. Okay? And you can put that around the dog's neck, say several weeks prior to the actual training with the electric shock collar, and get him used to wearing it around the house or around the kennel. And he'll be familiar with the weight and he'll be comfortable with it. And the other technique that I use and have extremely good success with is that every time I take a dog out to work him, I put the collar around his neck and he'll wear it until I put him back up. And I'll never let him out of the box without having him wear the collar. And he'll wear the collar during training until he's completed his training, and only then that I'll start weaning him off the collar.
So he's going to wear the collar whether you plan to shock him or not.
Exactly right. Okay. The next point we'll get into is the proper way to put the electric collar on. All right. The electric collar needs to be placed around the base of the dog's neck. It needs to be tightened medium tight. We want the prongs to make contact but not actually gouge in the dog's neck. Okay? And a good rule of thumb is if you can take your 4 fingers and kind of wiggle them between his neck and the collar, that's the proper amount of tightness. All right? The next point we need to get into is the amount of electrical stimulus.
Ready for it.
Here, would you please hold the dog for a second for me, Jim?
Come here, Andy.
Most of the collars you buy today come with a variable intensity plug. I start my dogs at about 7 to 9 months of age. And when I begin actual collar work, I start with a number 2 plug. And how I know whether the number 2 plug is right or not is when I do shock the dog, the type of response I get. If I get a violent head shaking or a high scream yelp or something like that, it's probably meaning that I have too much of a plug in there. Okay, and then I'll reduce the number. 2's very light, and I've never had a dog be over bothered by the 2. If any problem, I have a few that do not pay enough attention to the 2. So if you tap the button and get no response at all, you'll need to go to a number 3 or a number 4 until you get some type of response.
So the higher numbers give more electrical stimulus.
Right. Okay? Well, let's get into wool breaking, and I'd like to begin by demonstrating what I mean by wool. Let's go, Annie. Meg, easy. Whoa. Whoa. Good girl. Whoa. Good girl. Good girl. That's a good girl. Meg, easy. Whoa. Whoa. Good girl. The word whoa is the most common word used in stopping your dog. As you notice, I gave the dog's name, Meg, Easy, Whoa, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. With the whoa command, we begin to introduce the whistle, also the release command. By the release command, I mean the command we give our dog to release him from the whoa position, and that's something that's always important. Always you release your dog on a command. What I do is I tap the dog on the head, and I'll blow one short and one long whistle blast, and I also tell the dog, all right. Good girl. All right, Meg. We're going to begin by training this dog to whoa. First, we start by teaching the whoa command without the use of the collar. The reason we do this is because we do not want the dog to become confused. We want to build an association between the word whoa and standing there. I do this with the use of 2 techniques. One we call the shake technique, and the other is with the use of the bottle. We'll give the dog the command, buck, easy, whoa, and then we'll shake him and make him stand there. And then if he tries to move, I will take the water gun and I will squirt it around his face or his shoulders to reinforce him not to move. And we'll do this for about 3 or 4 days until the dog begins to understand what is expected of him. And then we will start using the electric shock collar. Remember, we've taken him out of the box, we've placed the collar around his neck. That is standard. I have got a very low intensity plug in the collar. I've got a 2 in here because he's never felt the shock before, and I do not want to intimidate him. If I do not get the proper response, in other words, if I shock him and he does not pay attention to it or respond to it, then I will increase the intensity the intensity plug to a 3 or to a 4 or to a 5 until I get the desired response. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Buck, let's go. Attaboy. Buck, easy. Whoa. Good boy. Good boy. After you get him stopped, you want to reassure him a little bit. Everything's okay. Whoa. Good boy. It's helpful to kind of give slight jerks upwards with the rope and the collar. The point is, we're not using electric shock collar right yet. We're just trying to get him to understand and build an association between the word whoa and standing there. Now I'm going to walk in front of him. If he tries to move, I'm going to squirt him with my squirt bottle here. Good boy, Rock. Good boy. Whoa. Whoa. Good boy. What we did there was discouraging him to move forward. Good boy. Whoa. Whoa. Good boy. Good boy. Whoa. Good boy. As we move in front of him, and he stands there, he's obviously beginning to get the idea of what is expected of him. Good boy. Whoa. Whoa. Now we do this in a process of maybe 30 minutes, and we'll do this 6 to 10 times each day. Usually it takes about 3 or 4 days, and we get an association about like this where we can feel confident that we can walk out in front of him and he's going to stand there. If he try to move, again, I would squirt him a little bit, okay? The first reaction your dog may have to the squirt bottle may be one of disbelief, or it may even frighten him a little bit, but after a couple times, it doesn't hurt him at all, and they just really don't like water very well. Some dogs will not stop to the water at first, and if they don't, just pick him up and shake him and keep using the water. Do this until he responds by stopping to the water. Okay, and then we go ahead and start working on release here. We do that again by tapping the dog on the head, blowing the whistle a short and a long, and telling him all right. And it looks like this. All right. Good boy, Chase. Chase, easy. Whoa. All right, after we've spent about 3 to 4 days with the shake technique and the water gun, establishing him standing there and getting him used to the whoa command, then it's time to go to the actual collar work itself. And it's a whole lot like using the water pistol. We establish him, we get him to stand there, and then as we start moving around, and if he moves, then we apply the electrical stimulus. And here's going to bring out a good point when throughout all training with electric collar. When you shock your dog, you tap and release as quickly as you can. Never, ever, under any circumstances, hold the button down. You're going to start asking for a problem. In other words, if I tap and release and get no response, then I'll tap it again and tap it again. It's a lot better to give a series of taps than to hold it down, okay? You will not intimidate your dog, he will not become afraid, nor will he become collar-wise. The longer you hold the button down, the more chance of that dog becoming collar-wise, okay? So I'm getting the whoa command, and then I'm going to walk in front, and if he tries to move, I'm going to bump him, see what response I get. Good boy, Chase. Okay, now I'm tapping the button, but I'm getting no response. It's telling me that the 2 is too light of a plug for him. So I'm going to make a change here, and I'm going to go to a little heavier number. Thank you, Eve. Okay, I'm going to increase to a 4 and see what I have. There's the 2. Now I'm going to increase it to a 4. Now we've got the number 4 plug in here, and let's see if we get some kind of response. Good boy, Chase. All right, Chase, easy. Whoa, good boy. Good boy. Good boy, Chase. Now I'm going to move around in front of him. See if I can't get him to move for me. so I can reinforce the whoa command. Good boy, Chase. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Whoa. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Now, I did not get an overreaction out of that response. In other words, he didn't lay down or try to run off. He did notice it, okay? So maybe I need to go ahead and go back down to a 3 and see if I can't get the ideal response. And the reason I'm going to reduce that, because it did bother him a little bit. And again, we want to try to use as little of electrical stimulus as we can get by with. And you'll notice the dog's tail will stay a little bit happier, and he'll just be a little bit happier because of it, and you'll still get the end response. If you try to train and use as much force as possible, you can lose a little of the intensity. And that's what we're trying to avoid here, is losing any of the intensity at all. All right, Chase. Now I'm going to move back down here and bring the dog up as I would in a normal training session. Good boy, Chase. Good boy. At this time, we can also start introducing the handling. We've spent like 3 or 4 days working on the whoa-ing. He's beginning to understand the whoa-ing part of it. And so now we'll introduce the handling. And by that I mean the hupping and the hears. Before we give any command on handling or whoa-ing, we always give the dog's name first. All right, Chase. Chase, up. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Chase, up. Chase, easy. Whoa. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, that was a perfect response. You saw his head turn a little bit. He stopped. And I did exactly what I wanted to do. Whoa. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. His tail came back. He's wagging it again. So we're in good shape. I'm going to go with the release command. All right. Good boy, Chase. Good boy. Chase, easy. Whoa. Good boy. Now I'm going to move around him, and if he moves, I'm going to shock him. If you shock your dog a few times and he doesn't stop, don't keep shocking him. Never shock your dog to the point he becomes afraid. Just get him and set him back. Then back up and spend more time on building the proper association between whoa and standing there. The dog is learning the desired response and what to do. After I give him the command, he stops, and he knows that if he tries to move, that he'll get the electrical stimulus, and so he's not going to move. I'm beginning to gain the proper control without intimidating my dog or create any problems. Good boy, Chase. All right, baby. Chase, easy. Whoa, good boy. When we got the dog doing this, we got him just about where we want him. He's making a few mistakes, but not very many. So it's now time to start increasing the distance and giving him a chance to do it when he's out away from us. It also gives him a chance to make a mistake, but we also then have the opportunity to do some training with the dog. So I'm going to take him off the check cord, and I'll show you what I mean. Good boy. That's a good boy. Chase, easy. Whoa. Now, if that dog was to move, I'd have gone ahead and tapped and released. If he did not stop, I would have tapped and released. He did stop. He did exactly what we wanted. He will make mistakes a few times throughout the rest of his training, so anticipate it, but he's learned quite a bit, and we're ready to go on to the handling. Chase, whoa. You did good job. All right. Good boy. Yeah, you did a good job. After we're confident the dog understands the word whoa, and we can stop the dog, whether he's 5 feet or 50 feet with a command whoa, or the collar if we need to, then it's time to go into the handling aspect of the training. And this is done very simply. By handling, what I mean is that we can turn our dog on command, or we can call him to us on command. The commands we use for handling is always the dog's name first, and to turn him, they'll sound like this. Meg, hup, and 2 short whistle blasts. To call him to us, the command we use is Meg, here, and a series of whistle blasts. This is done to start with while the dog is on the check cord, because again, we want to start building the association of the word hup and the word here without the use of a collar until the dog begins to understand what is expected of him, and then we'll introduce the electric collar. Meg, easy, whoa. Good girl, good girl. A couple things I'd like to point out here real quick is when we start, what I normally do is that I'll turn the dog, say 10 to 15 times with the word hup in a 10 to 20 minute period of time. And I will also call him to me 10 or 15 times in the same 10 or 20 minute period. They work in together and they can be used simultaneously, and it'll go like this. Meg, up. Good girl. Good girl. Meg, up. Good girl. The timing here is critical. When we give the dog command, if she doesn't respond within about a half second, we go ahead and turn her. Meg, up. Like that right there. Good girl. Meg, here. Good girl. After we get her back, we give her about, I'm going to say 30 seconds or so of praise before we release her. Remember the release command again. We'll go ahead and use it even after we call the dog back to us. Good girl. All right. Meg, up. Again, she didn't respond, so I pulled her around. The timing is crucial. Meg, up. Good girl. Meg, up. Good girl. Now, she did what she was supposed to do that time and did it great. Meg, here. Good girl. Good girl. By petting her, we're reinforcing the here command. Good girl. All right. Meg, up. Good girl. Meg, up. Meg, up. Good girl. Meg, up. Meg, up. While you're working the handling part of it, we can also work in the whoaing. Meg, easy, whoa. Good girl. That's a good girl. Okay, after we've worked 3 or 4 days and the dog is becoming familiar with the word hup and familiar with the word here, it's time to start introducing the electrical stimulus to get him to turn. We do it basically the same way as we had with the rope. We'll give the dog command, and we'll give him about a half a second. If he doesn't respond, and then we're going to take the collar, whoa, and we're going to tap the button real briefly and release it, and then pull him around the first few times so the dog doesn't become intimidated. And he finds out that when we shock him, that if he does the next procedure, such as if we turn him around, he turns for us, or comes into us, then that's all the discipline he will receive. And we'll do that for about 3 or 4 more days until he becomes familiar and not intimidated by the shock, and then we'll start putting it together without the use of the check cord. And it'll look something like this. Good girl. Meg, up. Good girl. Good girl, Meg. Let's go. Meg, up. Good girl. That's a good girl. Good girl, Meg. Up, let's go. Meg, up. Good girl. We're not getting an overreaction to the collar, but we're getting our desired response. Meg, here. Come over here. Good girl. Good girl. Now we'll do that for about 3 or 4 days until we're confident and comfortable that the dog knows what's expected of him when we give him the electrical stimulus or the discipline at this point. All right? After we're confident that the dog understands the word hup and the word here, it's time to take him out into the field and finish his actual handling training. And it's done very simply. We just take the check cord off the dog and we run him through a field. And when we give the hup command, if he doesn't respond, we tap the button. Or when we give him the here command and he doesn't respond, we tap the button until we get the desired response we're asking for. Let's take the check cord off Meg, Jim, and run her across the open field and see how good she's doing.
Let's go do it.
All right. Meg, up! Good girl! Meg, here! Good girl. That's a good girl. Good girl. All right. You ready? Meg, up! Good girl. Good girl.
Did she come around for you that time, or did you have to bump her just a little bit?
Didn't have to bump her.
Do you give her time between hups so she can stretch out and not be constantly turning?
Well, normally when you're doing this, you'll just go ahead and let them hunt at their own range. And then when you need to turn them for any particular reason, go ahead and turn them, okay? Or if you need to call them to you for any particular reason, such as going back to the truck, or going to stop by the pond, something of that nature, go ahead and call them to you. Meg, up!
Is that kind of what you're looking for?
That's exactly what you're looking for. She's staying happy, enthusiastic. Good girl. That's my girl, yes.
She's having a good time, too.
Let's go off this way here. Meg, up! Now, she didn't respond, so I went ahead and turned her with the collar. I gave her about a half a second to respond. She didn't, so I bumped her. And we'll just continue on. Now, the only problem that has ever arisen during training like this is occasionally you get a dog when you turn them and have to bump them that they go ahead and stop and stand there. Maybe a little confused between the hup and the whoa. If we do that, usually means we've taken him a little bit too quick into the handling or into this stage of training. So what I do is usually back up just a little bit, go back to the whoa work a little bit, and go back to the handling a little bit, and then bring them back out. If they go ahead and stop again, I just kind of mosey on and they'll eventually come. It may take as much as 5 minutes, but they'll eventually come with us. Meg, up! Good girl. Now while we're out here, we can also work on stopping the dog. Good girl, Meg. Meg, easy. Whoa. Oh, excellent job.
Do you normally try to do that when she's fairly close to start out with and then increase the distance?
Now she walked. Meg, whoa. So I tapped her. Whoa. Whoa. Good girl. That's right, Jim. When you start wooing her in the field, you do when she's fairly close. That way, when she gets out, you can increase the distance a little bit. Meg, up! She turned for me that time. Die, babe. She's watching those cows over there. Meg, here, here, here. Now, she didn't respond to me, so I went ahead and tapped her. She came to me, and we're in good shape. Good girl, Meg. And you'll do this. Basically, I like to do this when I'm hunting the dog more than anything. While I'm out in the field, I'll go ahead and work in on the handle and the hupping and the woeing while I'm hunting. And through just a little bit of time, you can get it down perfectly. Let's go to the bird field and teach a dog to be steady on his birds. All right, Meg. Before we get out and start working on some birds, I'd like to cover a few points. The first point, and it's very important, is that the dog is used to the shotgun prior to the actual training. The other thing is I want the dog to be woeing very well with the shock collar and not having any problems or any reservations towards that. And the last point is that this technique is so simple, you're really going to think there's more to it, but there's not. The gist of it is that we take the chase out of the dog. In other words, when the dog smells birds, and if he runs through them and starts to chase, after he's gone 10 or 15 yards into the chase, I tap the button and release. I tap and release until the dog stops chasing. What I've done here is created a situation that the dog actually thinks somehow these birds are leaving this electrical force field behind him, and it's behind him, and it's uncomfortable for him to run through it. So we start inevitably taking the chase out of the dog. All right?
That's it? You're just taking the chase out so he's going to stand the birds?
That's right. You basically, once you take the chase out of the dog, there's nothing left to do but to stand there, okay? Personally, I prefer doing it on native birds. While I'm hunting, I take an old broke dog or even a dog without another one, and we go hunting, and if he flushes a few coveys and is chasing them, I just tap and release and continue on the rest of the hunt. Usually by 2 or 3 days of hunting them, he's completely steady on his birds. And he's also had a chance to hunt, know how to look for birds, and it's really good. But if you don't have the native birds or it's out of season for you, then you can go ahead and break out the dog on release birds. In fact, I've got a few release birds out here, and what we're going to do is take Tom and try to demonstrate this.
Let's see how it works.
Okay. Oh. Again, we put the collar on the dog as soon as we take him out, and he'll wear it until we put him up. Got the same amount of tightness. We're ready to go. Now I'm going to put the check cord on him just to get him dragging it. In fact, I'm going to take the water gun and show you another little trick if we need it. Attaboy. Tom, hup. Attaboy. Tom, hup. Good boy. Whoops, the dog flushed the bird, and I tapped the button until he stopped chasing. The association is being made that chasing the bird is no fun. Whoop! Let's go. Important, very important, never shock the dog until he is chasing the bird. If the dog flushes the bird and does not chase, he is still building the proper association and will eventually get it right. All right. All right. Tap, tap. There. He stopped chasing.
Okay, Greg, are you still having to shock him a little to get him to stop?
Whoa. Sure did. I bumped him about twice on that one. He got the message a little quicker. Tom, up. Good boy. Tom, good boy. Easy. Now here's a little trick I was going to show you, Jim. Is by using the water gun, if the dog has been used to whoaing with it, I'm going to squirt him a little bit as I walk in front of him. A lot of times that'll get you by. Whoa. 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 Tom, here. A good point to be made right here is if your dog does catch the bird like that, if you have a bird that doesn't perform, just go on, pretend nothing happened. The dog actually did right. I tried to flush the bird, but the bird wouldn't fly. Don't make a big deal. You're not going to train him with one bird, and you're not going to run him with just one bird. Let's go on and see what else we can do. Good boy, Tom. Good boy. Now hunt close. We got birds in here. Work him up. All right, Tom. Oh. Good boy. Good boy. I'm going to give him a little time to stand there. Relax. Good boy. Good boy. Now, if you get to a point that your dog, you have trouble walking in front of him, a lot of times I'll just take the water bottle, just like I was wool breaking him, and as I walk in front of him, I'll kind of squirt him on the end of the nose, and I'll give him the whoa command. A lot of time this will get you over the hump of getting in front of the dog, and then you're able to shoot the bird for him, and he begins to make the association that when there's you and there's birds, and that you'll shoot it for him, and then he gets the opportunity to retrieve it. Now let's see if I can get in front of him. Whoa. 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 Good boy. Fetch it up. Come here, Tom. Bring it here. Good boy. Fetch it up. Come here. Here. Good boy, Tom. Good boy. That's not a bad job. Now we're well on our way to getting this dog to be a finished bird dog. All right. Let's go. All right. Dan. Dan, let's go. Let's go, buddy. Good boy. Birds out here. Good boy. Good boy, Dan. Tap, tap, until he quit chasing. And then we just go on as if nothing happened. Good boy, Dan. Let's go. We may run him for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes till he begins to relax from maybe any unpleasant experience he might have felt through that. And we go on. Right now, he's just going curious to see exactly what happened. Atta boy, Dan. Come on, baby. Did that bird leave an electrical force field behind him? It looked like he did. While I'm out here, I think I'll take the time just to whoa him. Dan, easy. Whoa. Good boy. Atta boy, Dan, let's go. Dan, let's go. Here. Good boy, good boy. We got birds out here. Come on, Dan. Good boy, Dan. Good boy. All right. Dan. Dan. Birds. Let's go. Up. Let's go. Birds out here. Birds. Come on, Dan. Good boy. Come on, Dan. Here. Tap, tap, tap. Notice Dan stopped chasing. Good boy. Up. Attaboy, Dan. Good boy. Good boy. All right, Dan, let's go. Up. Let's go. Dan, let's go. Let's go. Now, if you're having problems getting in front of your dog, what I'll do is use the water bottle. And just as I start to walk in front of him, I'll squirt him right on the end of the nose and repeat the command, whoa. That is, if he's been used with the water gun or the water bottle and the word whoa. Let's see if he'll let me get in front of him and shoot this bird for him. Whoa. Whoa. You notice the water bottle doesn't reduce any of his intensity. Whoa. 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 Ah! I missed. Attaboy, Dan. Now, this young dog held his first bird, and he's well on his way to becoming a useful bird dog as far as pointing his birds. Now it's time to get into backing or honoring. Come on, Dan. Nice job, son. Dan, here. Well, all we have left is to teach our dog to back or to honor.
Would you define that, please?
A back or an honor is basically a dog coming in and stopping and honoring or standing back from another dog's point so he won't interfere with the dog that's on point and the birds that are in front of him.
Maybe we ought to go demonstrate.
That's a good idea. That is a back or an honor. In fact, that's a very pretty back and honor. What happened? Raz saw Chase on point, and he stopped and he honored him. He respected the fact that Chase had a bird, and he did not want to get up in here and interfere. We don't train that. We try to teach it or allow our dogs to learn these. What I start out is by hunting a young dog with an older, more experienced dog. And for the first 3 or 4 times, the young pup sees the older dog on point. He may run up there and actually interfere and bump the birds. That's fine. We're building association. Again, he'll start making the association that there's a bird there. So I'm just letting him learn, trying to teach him something. You notice him investigating the other dog. He's not confident. Ah, he smelled the bird. The association is building. We're not training him, but we're allowing him to learn. Now just notice he looked at the other dog. He's learning. This is how we teach him. Now I'm going to walk in front and flush it. Oh. Good boy, Raz. That's a good boy. Right here. Good boy, Raz. Good boy. That's my boy. All right. Give it to me, son. Good boy. All right, let's go. Good boy. That's a... Now, after the dog has maybe had 4 or 5 encounters with the older dog and has actually got in front and flushed the bird and begin to make the association that around that dog there's birds when he's on point, then it's time, if he hasn't started backing by himself, then it's time to introduce the caller and the whoa command a little bit. When we do that, the dog's on point, say the young pup is coming in there, we start giving the name of the dog, pup, easy, whoa, and try to get him to slow down and stop. If he'll stop and establish point, we'll flush the bird and kill it for him. If he doesn't stop and establish point, we'll break out the collar, and when we give him the whoa command, we'll tap, and he'll stop, because we've earned that right to discipline him right here in this field when we were over there working on his whoaing. We've been working rags several times. The association has been made that the other dog on point has birds. Now it's time to work him again. If he tries to crowd the other dog, I'll tap the button and tell him to whoa so he won't move in. Let's see what happens. Easy, whoa. Now if he was to move, I'm going to tap the button and release it. Whoa. Whoa. Nice job. Nice job. This pup is also well on his way to becoming a nice natural sight backer. Here, Raz. Come here, buddy. Rags, here. Raz, here. Good boy. That's a boy. All right. Well, Jim, what do you think?
Well, it looks good.
I tell you what, the sun's getting a little low, but I have a few birds. Why don't we go out, put out a couple small coveys, and go run our young dogs and just have a little fun? What do you think?
Like that. Let's do it.
Come on, you two.
Greg, earlier you mentioned something about using the collar to stop dogs from chasing deer and rabbits, that sort of thing.
Right. It's excellent for it, Jim, and it's really very, very simple. It's basically the same way as you get them steady on the birds. Say they encounter a deer and they start chasing it. Go ahead and just tap the button and release, tap the button and release until he quits chasing it. It won't be long until he becomes uncomfortable with the chasing of the deer, and he'll stop his chase.
The same principle, then, as the deer or rabbits leaving behind an unpleasant force field.
Right. Unpleasant force field. And, you know, it even works equally well off of cattle, horses, and sometimes I've even had to use it for breaking a dog from chasing like meadowlarks or chickadees, things of this nature. But I usually wait until he's about, been hunted about a half a season before I start worrying about breaking him off. Let's go, bud. Go, Annie. Attaboy, Chase. Attaboy, Chase. Yeah. Oh, we got a point. Where's Miss Annie at? Oh. Let's see if we can't get it back, since we're out here for training purposes anyway. Annie! Beautiful. Oh. Boy, he broke over. He hit that point so hard in the front end. Whoop. He must be right up on that bird. Let me go in there and see if I can flush it. Whoop, Annie. Whoop.